When I think about the love of Jesus, I feel joy down in my soul. When I think about the love of Jesus and that wonderful day, He'll take me home.
Hi, I'm so glad I get to talk to you today because I want to let you know that He loves you. Communication is so important. It's so crucial in every aspect of life, and lack of communication and unclear communication can cause tragedies and misunderstandings. It can end relationships and employment. Good communication is crucial for happiness in life. In the parable about the 10 virgins and how 5 were wise and 5 were foolish, and when the foolish ones finally made it to the wedding feast and knocked on the door, the bridegroom said, "I do not know you." They did not keep a relationship with the bridegroom. He didn't even know them. Communication is key to a healthy and happy relationship. And there are many ways to communicate. My daughter and her husband bought me an airline ticket to Nashville. They were going there to celebrate her 50th birthday and take in the sights, including an Elton John concert. And at the end of the concert, everyone was waving goodbye to him. He thought that might be his last concert in Nashville. And we were in a back balcony, and I had my phone with me, so I turned the light on my phone, the flashlight, and I was waving my phone back and forth over my head. And he was leaving the stage, and he stopped and he looked, and then he started waving his hand in the same motion that I was waving my phone, like he saw my light. And I said, wow, I made a connection with Elton John. And it was just that small communication. And leaving Nashville, I was supposed to fly through Dallas, but they changed my flight to fly through Chicago because of weather. And even on the Chicago flight, the pilot said that refreshments would not be served because of the weather. And when we were in the plane for a while, I looked in my purse and found some candy bars that I had got from the hotel, and I asked the guy sitting next to me if he would like one, and he said yes, and we began to talk, and I found out that his church sponsored a ministry for the Dominican Republic, and it was a very exciting ministry, and I asked how I could become part of that, and he shared the information with me, and we have stayed in communication until this day. It's important to communicate. A smile, even a wave, can make a difference in someone's life. I remember when I was working as a nurse's aide at a nursing home, one of my first jobs, one of my patients went to the hospital, and when he came back, they told me that he had cancer of the pancreas, and when I went to see him that day, he told me, he said, Sarah, I went to the hospital and they told me what's wrong with me. And he said, I've made my peace with God, and I'm going to be leaving. His doctor communicated with him, and he communicated with God. And I said, everything is going to be okay. And he said, no. He said, I've made my peace with God, and I'm going to be leaving. And he said, could you get me a blanket? He said, because it's kind of cold in here. And I said, okay. I said, I'll be right back. And I went to get him a blanket, but I stopped by the nurse's station. And I told them what he had said, and they said, no, he's not going to die, or nothing's going to happen, with him right away. It does take a while for that illness to cause someone's death, and so no, nothing's going to happen to him, and so I went back to the room, with this blanket, and his face was turned towards the wall, and he had a smile on his face, and I called his name, and he didn't respond. And I called him again. I said, I'm back with your blanket, and he didn't respond. And I touched him, and he didn't move. And I left, and I went to the nurse's station and asked them to come, and he had passed away. And they looked at the hospital report to see if there were any other conditions, like a heart problem or something like that, but no. And they called, the ambulance or whatever the protocol was, but later his parents came to the nursing home and to gather his belongings, and I heard that they were there, and I went, to their room, and they said, were you with him? Were you with him when he passed away? And I told them no, that I had went to get him a blanket, but I told them that he told me that he had made his peace with God, and that he was going to be leaving. And I told them that when I came back to the room, he had a smile on his face, and they smiled, and they looked at me, and they said, thank you for telling us that. I know those few words gave his parents comfort, to know that he had a smile on his face, for them to know that he knew he was going to be with God, gave them comfort, and eased the pain of their loss and grief. I was so glad I was able to share that with them. And I am so glad I am able to tell you that he loves you, and he wants you to communicate with him. He said to pray without ceasing. He said, I will be found by those who seek me. He loves you. He loves you.